Bye-bye. Happy Tuesday afternoon. Monday was dark because, well, a storm came through and tore up all of our local roads, and I messed up everything around the school district too. So the schools, as far as the students were concerned, were closed on Monday. This afternoon I have a field trip, school field trip, or sports trip, or whatever you want to call them. I've got, for our high schools in the north end, going to a high school in Paris that I've never been to before, called Rancho Verde High School, Moreno Valley, California. I figured that'd be Paris there, because it's right off of Ramona Expressway by Paris Lake, so who knows? Everything out there used to be Paris or March Air Force Base or Sunnymead. Now all the new towns are growing and sprouting up. New names, new schools, new places to visit. That's bus number 1 I'm running behind. Bus number 1 is identical to bus number 10. That's a bus my wife drives. When we have trips together, bus 1 and 10 are the ones that go out together. She has a local trip. She's taking one of our North End schools, not mine, not the one I'm going to, over to Los Osos High School in Rancho Cucamonga. And I get to drive across the valley through a couple different towns. One of the perks of seniority, you get the shorter distance trip with the most hours, and then the one with the lesser seniority, me, I get the longer trip with just a little bit less than hours. But that's okay, I'm a bus driver, I like to drive. California roads are bumpy. That's why I get to sit on the shock absorber so my ride's smooth. I appreciate the shock absorber. When I first started driving buses 30 years ago, an air ride seat was not an option in the school bus. At least not in any of the school buses I drove. My first option with an air ride seat was in 1987 when we were given some Gillig transit buses for a new transit contract I was the supervisor trainer for. And I got to play with 1987 Gillig transit 40-footers. One thing about being a trainer is, and also for a supervisor, is when new buses come, you get to take them out, play with them, learn all the quirks about them, and then train the drivers on what not to do, because you already figured out that that's a bad thing. I still remember, sorry about that, I had some trainers from San Bernardino come out to help us. I was working for Laidlaw at the time, and there was a first Foothill Transit contract Laidlaw had. I was the field supervisor trainer, and then also I was a charter manager, and I was a dispatcher, and I drove routes when I had to. Contract operations. Just because you're a supervisor doesn't mean you don't drive. Just because you're a trainer doesn't mean you don't do other things. So we told drivers specifically there are 2 locations you do not deploy your wheelchair ramp on these Gillig buses. These Gillig buses had a wheelchair ramp built into the front stepwell. And it wasn't a fold-up type, it was just a straight out. Lip goes down onto the curb, pick up your wheelchair rider, close the ramp, and go on your way. And the difference between public transit and school bus, if it were a school bus, the driver would turn off the bus, open up the ramp, load the person, strap him down with the tie downs, close up the ramp, go on your way to your destination. Public transit, the rider's expected to do all the stuff. The driver operates the ramp, or the lift, whichever one you want to call it. And after the passenger rolls back, locks himself into the position, and pulls a seatbelt across themselves, and away you go. And as the person's locking themselves in the position, the bus is on the way down the road. Hopefully the person's set the brakes already. So I had this trainer from San Bernardino think that she was smarter than us. And she decided that just because there's a high curb there, we shouldn't say we don't do wheelchair ramp there, because she can make it work. Now again, we have 2 locations, specifically put it out in a memo, specifically told every trainer, told every driver. But this person knew better, so they got this idea, okay, we're going to use what they call the kneel function on a transit bus. They have airbags in the front, and you can raise the front of the bus up to meet a high curb, and you can also lower the front of the bus closer to the street for a senior or someone with limited abilities to get on or off the bus if there's no curb there. And when you lower it, you can get it about half the height of the curb, standard curb. So it's an easy step for a senior or someone who's disabled or somewhat disabled or have limitations. So this trainer thought, well, hey, you can raise it up. And she saw that we can raise it up, and when you raise it up, you stop the raise. You can raise it up just enough to clear the curb. That's all you need to do. Well, she was playing with it and figured out that she could raise it up a good foot past the top of the curb. Then she thought, well, hey, if we can do this, let's deploy the lift. And that's what they did. And then this is a training day. This intersection is when you're stopped picking up, dropping off people, the bus is blocking the street because there's no bus cutouts, nothing fancy. It's no parking zone. The bus is there if it ever stops, is there for a minute. That's it. Nope, not this one. After we're trying to get the bus off the ramp for the curb for 15 minutes, then they called dispatch and said we need a tow truck. They needed a tow truck, they needed 2 floor jacks, and some cribbing. And then after that we had to send the ramp in for repair because they broke 8 mounting bolts on the front end. When the bus came down, it broke the ramp. So I was beside myself. I chose not to talk to the behind-the-wheel trainer about the issue. Instead, I went to my general manager and said, hey, you chat with her. He said, you're the trainer. Yeah, I'm going to kill a driver. Trainer. So, no, it wouldn't be good. Then after that, we did another memo and said, by all terms, do not attempt to use a wheelchair ramp at these 2 locations. If you fail to follow this policy, there may be grounds for termination. Because when it was all said and done, it cost $10,000 to fix the bus, to pay for the tow truck, to pay for the mechanics, and pay for all the repairs on a brand new bus. So we ate it. So there's a story for you about transit drivers. And why it's fun being a school bus driver, because you're not responsible when stupid people do stupid things anymore. Back in 2001, let's see here, I started work here in, I think, October, end of September, early October. I was the acting assistant general manager for Antelope Valley Transit Authority in Palmdale, California. And might have been Lancaster. It's one of those towns where they're right off of each other, but it was Antelope Valley. And one of my drivers was, how do I put this nice? Checking out a young lady who was walking along the street, across the street. As he was admiring her attributes, he lost track of where he was at. Out in the Antelope Valley, not a lot of streets have curbs. All of them are paved, or at least the ones we run buses on are paved, but they don't have curbs. But what you do have is telephone poles, and they do have the guy wires that hold the telephone poles up. So this individual let his vehicle wander off the roadway, and then he felt the bus decelerate. He floored it, and he climbed up a guy wire. That's that wire that holds telephone poles straight. And he took his bus up the guy wire, up to about where the first cross member was, and then the bus stopped there, kind of hung on the wire. And then I got to listen to my corporate vice presidents want to know what kind of people I'm hiring. The client wanted to know what kind of people we are hiring. And I had a parade of executives and clients going through my office, coming in to belittle me for the type of people that I hired, that I personally hired because I was the assistant general manager and they were my responsibility. I went out to the site and I saw this cutaway van that was evacuated. It had 20 developmentally disabled adults in it. Unfortunately, because they were developmentally disabled adults, everyone was wearing their seatbelt. So when the bus did its thing, nobody fell out the back window when the bus was about to do a stint for rocket ship to Mars. Because imagine a bus sitting vertical with its nose facing the wires and the back bumper facing the ground. Fire department came in, evacuated everyone out the wheelchair ramp, and then they brought in this huge construction crane to get the bus off the wires because Edison didn't want it to be there anymore. Southern California Edison's our local power provider. And I had so much fun when I found out who the driver was, because the year before, the driver was the driver of the year for the transit agency. He did the rodeo course, he won the rodeo. The transit agency sent him and his family to Hawaii for a week, and thanking him for being such a great driver. And then this guy said, well, I want to drive a smaller bus next year, and he did that. Yeah. So nice to be a bus driver. Not responsible for doing anything, but taking care of myself. Let's see, what have they done to this school since last I was here? Solar panels are done. Traffic codes aren't put down. paperwork says. I don't have to be here till 2 o'clock. Okay, pick up by the portables. Okay. We can do that.